Rocket is a band that's getting a lot of traction lately, and I think they deserve it. In fact, I think they're destined to blow up very big in 2026, but I keep hearing things about them that I don't think are correct, and I'd like to dive down a little bit into what people are saying about this band and what I think people are getting wrong. So I keep seeing Rocket described as a 90s retread or a shoegaze band or a Smashing Pumpkins style throwback. While I understand the nostalgia and I understand why people reach for those labels, I think it completely misses the point in terms of what Rocket is really doing. So when people hear volume and texture and emotional weight, their brains immediately jump to the 1990s. That era left a huge fingerprint on rock music. So when Rocket uses layered guitars, dynamics, and atmosphere, the default reaction is shoegaze. And when the distortion comes on, it's Smashing Pumpkins. But that's a surface level read for a band that's really brilliant. It's a shortcut, and shortcuts don't usually survive a close inspection. So let me ask you, what's your first thought when you hear Rocket? One of the biggest misunderstandings I think is going on out there is to call Rocket a shoegaze band. Yes, they have shimmering guitars and they have very ethereal lyrical melodies, but shoegaze traditionally prioritizes texture over song structure. The sound becomes the destination, and with Rocket, the texture just serves the purpose of whatever song they're playing. The dynamics rise and fall deliberately. The emotional arc matters. So for Rocket, the songs come first, not the soundscapes are drifting on an autopilot based on textures. So do you think of Rocket as a texture band or a songwriting? Personally, I see them as a song-centered band, and that's what makes them so good. Now, as far as Smashing Pumpkins goes, this is a comparison that I don't think is going to age well as the Rocket continues to create. Yes, there's a contrast between quiet and loud. Yes, there's similarities between Rocket and Smashing Pumpkins. But Rocket isn't channeling Billy Corgan's maximalism or layered theatricality. Rocket feels more restrained, more patient, and in some ways more emotionally direct. There's a different creative instinct going on here, even if the tools and sometimes the sound seem similar at first glance. So what excites me about Rocket is that they don't feel like a band that's trying to recreate a moment. I've heard a few people say, well, they are the 90s version of Greta Van Fleet. In other words, they are to the 90s what Greta Van Fleet was to the 70s. They're reinterpreting a classic sound. But to me, they feel like a band that is very current and that understands dynamics, knows how to make songs, and they're comfortable with who they are. For me, this is not a formula that you could apply to Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet has never fully understood who they are as a band outside of being a very exalted kind of Led Zeppelin cover band. And where their originality does flare up, they seem to lose track of it as soon as they find it. Rocket seems to be completely the opposite. They seem to be charting new territories, they seem to be finding their own way, and I think that their influences are going to fall off very quickly as they mature. Every emerging band gets boxed in early, and this is kind of how listeners can orient themselves to what a band is doing and what they are. But bands that matter always outgrow those first comparisons, and Rocket feels like one of those bands to me. As their catalog grows, the shorthand labels are going to feel smaller and smaller and less relevant. So what do you think Rocket's going to sound like 2 or 3 albums from now? I'm really curious to get your opinion. For me, I think that trying to find a handy label for this band is cool because it's important to get the word out about how good they really are, but at the same time I think they're going to go right past everybody's assumptions as they continue to develop. What I feel about this band is a sense of excitement due to the fact that they're very original and that they're just getting started and that they have a sound that comes out of their individual identities rather than trying to sound like another band. Let me know what you think down in the comments.
Music Guru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.